Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts, and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for A Bone for a Bone, and with me today is my good friend Essie McPeters. Say hi.
Hello. Thank you.
Thank you. So first of all, this is, A Bone for a Bone, as mentioned. It was released on the 7th of April 1951. It had a blue ribbon reissue sometime in 1960. It's the 617th in the series, and it's directed by Friz Freleng. A restoration has shown up on a streaming service, and as of this recording, it's no longer there, and it's no longer available. So hopefully it'll either be released on physical media at some point soon, or hopefully it will also go on a streaming service, preferably both. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But it's not lost. It's not lost media, as some of the kids say these days. I really hate that term. It's not lost media. If it's still available, just not available for streaming, okay? Yep. It's called inaccessible media, as my good friend Manny Cruz, the Toonie tenor, has coined, which I think is perfect to describe such a situation. Now, I can't show you the full thing here due to copyright on YouTube, but in case you haven't seen it, so two gophers are playing gin rummy, where a dog buries a bone in their home underground. They tell the dog to move the bone. The dog's not having any of that, so of course the gophers then mess with the dog for the rest of the short. So, 2 bits of trivia for this one. So this is the first of 4 Goofy Gopher shorts directed by Friz Freleng. The previous ones were all done by Art Davis, except for one done by McKimson, which was the one that was filled with low comedy. And Clampett started the first one that Davis ended up finishing
Davis
as well.
Started that third one too that McKimson finished.
Exactly. So Davis had a hand in all of the previous ones in one way or another.
And he's animating on this one though, but this is not him directing.
Exactly. So maybe even consulted for part of it, or maybe he was just happy just to be an animator and that's it, because it seems to be happy.
I don't want to work on story anymore. Ugh.
Yeah, that's probably his attitude by this point. But you'll notice in the credits, J.B. Hardaway. Now, if you've been following this channel, that name may be familiar to you from a while back when I covered a lot of Hardaway's shorts, because he was a director and writer, and his name was part of the whole thing with Bugs' Bunny, that kind of thing. He left Warner's and went to Walter Land Studios, and of course, he had Woody Woodpecker as a result of that. But after a while, he came back. But you want to tell us, what do you think was the cause of him returning briefly to Warner's?
Thanks to Eric Costello, I know from government records where he was working, he was only there for a few months and this is his only credit, so I assume that he was working on freelance. Thad has assumed so, and I think so as well. I think that this was just a freelance job for him while he was looking for work, and he eventually got it as a government job. He was actually friends with Harry Truman from World War I. He was in his regiment.
Wow, yeah, it's like small world. Even I know who he is, being an Aussie and all that. But sadly, Hardaway wouldn't live too much longer after this. I believe he passed away in 1957 off memory.
He was a bit of an older one as well. I think he was a little older than Walt Disney.
And yeah, this is his final credit in a Warner short. So whether you liked his early stuff or not, he was still part of the history. And yeah, exactly. So definitely an important figure in animation to a point. The short itself, I'm going to be upfront and say that I don't know if these Freleng ones will ever match the Davis ones. And this particular short isn't as good as the previous Davis ones, but it's okay. I quite liked it.
I actually do like this one. I definitely think that Hardaway's writing was probably revised by, say, someone like Warren Foster, who was working with him at the time, Freleng.
I think so.
And you could definitely tell that this would have been something like a typical Lance short if it wasn't for someone like Foster. Both of them were very talented. Hardaway, I tend to think of him as a bit of a cheaper guy. Lance definitely liked him because he was cheaper. He had a habit of having jokes on signs or puns like that, and that it saved money because you didn't have to animate them. It was a point of contention between him and Seamus Culhane at Lance.
Yeah, because when you mentioned that this comes across as a kind of like a Lance short, even without knowing that Hardaway was involved with this one, yeah, it definitely came across as that kind of flavor, if you will. with some of the Woody Woodpeckers of the 40s. But I love the Goofy Gophers as characters. You know, I mean, I view them as a gay couple, and I'm probably not the only one. I'm pretty sure when they were created for these shorts, that wasn't exactly the intention. I mean, you mentioned that they were possibly based off a vaudeville act.
I forget exactly the name, but they were based on definitely a pair of comedians from the turn of the century.
I think, we can now view them as, I guess, gay icons or something, because I think in one of the latest series they're portrayed as a gay couple now, so I guess they're finally committed to the gag. But regardless, with this dog in this short, I'm going to be honest, there's nothing wrong with this character. In fact, I like Mel Blanc's voice for this dog. Like, it's stupid, but it's not too stupid, so it's sort of like, I don't know, mid-level stupid or something, but I honestly prefer the pompous Shakespearean dog. I think that dog was much better, more interesting foil for the Goofy Gophers.
I definitely do agree with you that the Shakespeare character was a much better person that the Gophers played along against. And in this one, the Gophers are also portrayed as a bit nicer. They're not as savage in their deeds. They aren't as prankster. They're just tit for tat in this one. And the dog, he's just a typical stupid cartoon dog. He doesn't have that pompous attitude. He's just doing his business.
Yeah, he's just
still a nice character nonetheless, because it's a character they made funny and is an actually funny character.
Exactly, and yeah, that's the thing, because he's just bearing his bone, and that's pretty much it. Like, he's not some evil character or someone that's smug like the Shakespearean dog that needs to be taken down a peg, you know? So I guess maybe that's why this one didn't, I guess, connect with me as much as the Art Davis ones. And as you pointed out, the Gophers are not as aggressive in this short. It feels like what Friz did with the Tweety character. Like, Tweety's going to get less and less aggressive as the years go on. So this just feels the same thing to me. But hey, it's still funny though. It's got some great gags.
I just really like the ending where he just gets blown up in the oven. He's just packing his bag and he's leaving.
What I love about it, for musical reasons, is that the song that's the instrumental bit that's played is a very weird rendition of Shuffle Off to Buffalo. So I guess, he's shuffling off, he's leaving presumably for Buffalo, I don't know, he's going somewhere at least, so it makes sense to use the song. But I've never heard it in that kind of rendition, like sort of like a warped, drunken type rendition. I thought that was a really interesting choice there.
Well, he's definitely hurt. I guess you can say that's why.
Yeah, so struggling to shuffle off to Buffalo in this particular case, although I do have to wonder, how did he get in that oven? Because previously he was in the main gas line, but anyway, look, I'm not going to look too deeply into it. I keep getting into trouble with that. It's like, these are just cartoons, just relax, move on. But a gag that I liked is the arm gag. I thought that was a major highlight. I thought, this dog is not exactly really stupid, but he's stupid enough to believe that this hose is his arm and he gets run over by that truck. And I thought that was some
nice effects animation. The effects animator around this time, Henry Love, he actually was Friz Freleng's assistant when he was working at Crazy Cat in 1929 to very early in 1930 when he went back when the Harmonizing got their contract to do the Bosco series.
Wow, so that far back.
When Freleng came there, he got one of the assistants there, which just happened to be Henry Love, or as I've seen one trade ad call him, Harold Levi.
Also, I got to point out one gag which does not come across as Friz at all. I mean, this feels like it's pure Hardaway, and it's the sort of thing that might have been done on the Woody Woodpecker short, and that's the card gag, where it's like, the whole pick a card. You goes, you got any more tricks? Yes, and he pulls out the cards, he picks a card, and then, this got me, by the way, I did not expect this, and I laughed at this pretty loud, the dynamite in the card, and it's actually real dynamite, and it blows up in the dog's face. So, again...
Yeah, it was a bit of a leftover from the screwball era of stuff.
Exactly.
Where just anything could happen. A Terry Toon around this time did it as well. He said it was painted on.
Exactly. That's why when I mentioned before, this comes across as like a Lance cartoon, because... just change the gopher to Woody Woodpecker and change the dog into, I don't know, the walrus character or whatever. And
Yimmity.
Yeah, Yompany. It's the same type of gag, like Woody Woodpecker might say, hey, pick a card, and you might pick a card, and then dynamite just blows up in his face, and that's
the fun thing is that, of course, that Hardaway did Woody's voice.
Yes.
And since he could not act at all, he just comes off naturally unhinged.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could definitely see the Gophers as being a bit of Woody Woodpecker in this short, but they don't act like Woody because they're Gophers and they're portrayed as such.
Exactly. It's just like one scene that sort of sticks out that, yeah, you could
Yeah.
easily replace the Gopher with Woody and
Hardaway
uh,
was very tied with that character because, of course, the Bugs Bunny prototype was very much him as well.
just basically pure
A character
screwball,
that
no
didn't give a
subtlety.
crap.
Yeah, exactly. But it was pretty much pure screwball, no subtlety whatsoever. And that gag in this short does stick out like a sore thumb. As funny as it is, it definitely sticks out. Now, as an added bonus, my good friend John has sent over a track, so this will make his debut on the channel. So take it away, John.
Hello, I'm John. I'm from a very far land known as the Basque Country, located somewhere in Spain. And well, I'm the newest member of this team, and I'm here today also to talk about this cartoon, A Bone for a Bone, which I have to admit is one of my favorite Warner Brothers shorts. Well, not exactly one of my favorites, but one of the ones from this year, from 1951 in general. So first for all, let's talk about the Goofy Gophers. So one thing I have to be honest, I'm a big fan of these two characters, Macintosh. I really enjoyed their first three shorts, Two Gophers from Texas, The Goofy Gophers, and Ham in a Roll. I really like Two Gophers from Texas, which I consider to be one of the best Art Davis cartoons ever made. And I really enjoyed the first entry, and this one is also pretty good. So one of the first highlights I want to mention about this cartoon is the animation design on the dog. The dog character in here, which is I think was named George P. Dog, or something like that, which curiously coincides with the name of the Barnyard Dog, which supposedly is also George. And yeah, I really like the design of the dog itself. I think it's a design that had potential. They could have featured him in other cartoons as a background character, maybe in a Sylvester or Tweety cartoon as a background random dog. But well, I really liked it. Another thing that I have to highlight of this cartoon is one of the persons who wrote it, Ben Hardaway. This is Hardaway's first ever return to the studio in a long time. During that period, Hardaway was just in Waterlands working in the Woody Woodpecker cartoons. I think he even voiced Woody in some of them, but yeah, it was surprising to see Hardaway returning for this cartoon. I don't know if there's a exact reason of why he came back to Warner just to write this cartoon, because this is also his last created work in any cartoon related project, because I don't know if he later retired or what happened to him. But yeah, this is the last time we ever hear of good old Ben Hardaway. Hardaway used to work for Friz as a storyman, I think, in the early 30s. Then, Friz left and Hardaway took over his unit. And Hardaway left in the early 40s to Waterlands when Friz returned to Termite Terrace. And now he returned just for this cartoon. But yeah, it shocks me a little bit. Another thing that I really highlight is the Gophers themselves. I enjoy Mel Blanc and Stan Freber. There are still the two of them. But yeah, I really love when the Gophers interact. Unlike the other Looney Tunes characters that are more kind, so sophisticated, but still they are sane in their own way. There's a very funny scene at the beginning of the cartoon. They're playing cards. They're playing and one of them does chin and tells the other, "Oh, perhaps you lost. Would you like a rematch?" or something like that. I don't know if that was the correct line. The other's like, sure. And then, no, I really like it. If you compare it to, for example, What's Brain Bruin, where the three bears are playing cards, when Papa Bear loses the match to the Mother Bear, he goes insane. You compare this scene with the one featured here, and you can notice how different the Goofy Gophers are for other Warner Brothers characters. Another thing about this cartoon is some of the gags. One's like the one of the card that is dynamite and then turns to be real, and also the scene of the Mowet. One of the Gophers is in the hands of the dog and tells him "Would you mind if I call for help?" And the other's like, "Sure, go ahead." Then he screams "Help!" The other one appears in the other side, the dog's confused. And then Macintosh takes the hammer and throws it into the head to the dog, and the dog has squished his face with the collar. In an overall conclusion to this, I really like this cartoon. I think it's one of the most underrated Freleng cartoons and one of my favorites from this year so far, from 1951. And it's also the first cartoon where Friz interacts with the characters, and the following shorts featuring the Goofy Gophers are exclusively to Friz Freleng. Friz is gonna be enjoying playing with these characters. That will come when we tackle those cartoons. But yeah, that's all my part for this cartoon, for A Bone for a Bone. So thanks for having me here, and I'll hopefully see you all around for next review. Goodbye, everybody.
I just like it. It's not as good as, say, the Davises, which hold a high standard, but it's got some good fun in it.
Yeah, I agree. And I know it might sound like I was unfairly comparing this one to the Art Davis ones, but you got to sort of compare it to something. The Goofy Gophers were done before. Comparisons were always going to be inevitable. If you view this one on its own, it's fun, it's funny, it's a little bit on the tamer side, but it's got some good gags. I give this one about a 7.5 out of 10. I think that's a nice, generous score for this one.
I'd give it a nice 7. It's a nice short. Not top, but a good short. They were consistently good at making consistently good shorts.
This is a nice little short. It's, I guess, nothing spectacular, but I do recommend if people want to see a really good Goofy Gopher shorts, definitely watch the ones that Art Davis did and the one that McKimson finished. The one that's full of low comedy. Yeah, that's I always bring that up these days. But
definitely one of the most clever cartoons.
Exactly. So, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
That's all, folks. Shall we stop watching?
We shall. We shall stop reviewing. Yes, we shall.
Shall we continue with our gin game? Let's shall. Yes, let's shall by all means.